He only has 3 master's degrees and is a published author of the book, The Agile Pocket Guide. He's the founder and general partner of Stas Fund, a Web3 venture studio that invests in continuous yield platforms in digital currency staking and also Bitcoin mining. He also serves as co-founder and chief technology officer at VinWiki. He offers experience from multiple successful startup exits, angel investments, and consulting roles. He's also a race car driver and an avid go-kart dad. You can learn more at Stas Fund. Please give a round of applause for Peter.
Thank you. I think I'm taking this one, right? I'm taking this one.
Actually, this one's on.
Better? Okay, perfect. All right. Hey, guys. I'm really excited to talk about this. This is something that is deep in my heart. This is something that is, well, it's going to be more of a story than anything else. You know, one of the things that I really appreciated from Mike Matthews during our dinner last night, he was talking about the ecclesia and how we often we wait for funding. And he said, let's get going. Let's start executing. Let's start building those platforms. And as he was saying this, I was thinking, this is the answer. So let's jump right in. One of the first things I'd love for you guys to do is take a picture. You can tweet it at AgilePeter, so we can do that. And also write down this, bit.ly/venturebook. This is my 3rd book. I give it away for free. It's a PDF. And then what it talks about is how to use venture media to grow your companies, grow your startups, your ideas, or even obviously a venture fund. So I'll give you guys just a second to take a picture of that. You can have me in it too. If you want to tweet it, that's okay. But definitely take a picture, and we'll give you guys an opportunity to make sure that you get that link at the end. So let's jump right in. We did a quick introduction here, but I think it's important to give you guys just a little bit of context around my history. First and foremost, I first got into Bitcoin in 2011. I bought my first Bitcoin in November of 2011 after reading an Ars Technica article talking about this amazing coding language that had dropped in value. Now for me, as an engineer, as a trained engineer, it didn't make any sense. How could a Java, how could a .NET, how could a C# lose value? It's just a coding base. And so I went down the rabbit hole into Bitcoin for about a month. I lost about 15 pounds and I started eating it up. And I'll tell you, the #1 reason why I'm staying in Web3 and Bitcoin is because of what I learned. I learned not only can I program my own money, but I can also manufacture growth. And this is a powerful, powerful thing. So we already did an introduction, multi-founder, multiple master's degrees, a couple exits, and right now I'm running a $50 million venture fund with Jaime, who's over here, our managing partner. And we're all about the socials, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. But if you're looking at these pictures here, this is a small narrative. This picture was in 2015 when I started Bitcoin mining in a small office. And one of the things that I learned about was heat and heat emissions. I ended up melting the paint off the walls. And I have a video of me going in there after my landlord called me and said, it's so hot over there, it's so loud, and it smells like something's burning. So I run over there and the paint is melting off the walls. So we've learned a lot. So we went from graphics cards in 2015 all the way to the future over there, and now we're running a 23-acre, 165,000 square foot Bitcoin mining facility out of North Carolina. Awesome stuff. So I always like to say we've been mining Bitcoin in 2011 from a Dell XPS laptop all the way to enterprise scale. So let's talk about Bitcoin. So we're going to be talking about Bitcoin here, and then we're going to be talking about venture capital, and then we're going to be talking about the newest way to deploy capital. Well, let's start here. Bitcoin started Web3. Did you guys know this? I'm sure you did. At the end of 2008, Satoshi Nakamoto wrote his first white paper. Now, he deployed it in early January of 2009, and that truly started Web3. Here's 5 ideas around what Bitcoin brought to the world here. I'm sure Mike, if he was listening to this, he'd say, Bitcoin didn't bring anything. God already built it, so we'll give him the credit first. But play with me as I give Bitcoin maybe a little bit more credit where credit is due. One of the powerful things, as you guys well know, is Bitcoin is decentralized. This is a powerful aspect of Bitcoin in that there is no central controller. There's no one who can rug pull you, like a bank, or a person with ego, or a person who's like, I don't like what you're talking about online. You know what? Let's cut that person out. Maybe they don't need to be able to buy food and services anymore. This we'll dig into a little bit more. Number 2, security. Bitcoin has changed the fundamental dynamics around security. Now we have true security. We have the ability to have and own our own data. We have the ability to secure our data and our value. This is a powerful idea. Bitcoin is anti-fragile. I've been in Bitcoin for over a decade now. I've gone through all of the 3 major waves, and I've profited, which we'll talk about, off of all of them. But one of the most fascinating things, as I've learned over the decade of being in Bitcoin, is the anti-fragility of it. Bitcoin is built to fix itself. Bitcoin is built to continue to grow. Despite all of the hacking, all of the malfeasance, all of the politics, Bitcoin is decentralized, secure, and therefore it has the ability to grow beyond bounds. One of the most powerful aspects of Bitcoin is this community focus. Bitcoin is digitally native, which we'll talk about in a second, but it started online. It wasn't something that started out of a brick and mortar. It didn't start out of some college university or some sort of course that you could take. Bitcoin started at the fringe, and we have great models of that in the Word. We have great models in that from our prophets. We have great models in that from Jesus and his disciples. They were the fringe, but they started an amazing movement. And last but not least, Bitcoin, in its starting of Web3, is immutable. Now I have to put an asterisk there because things can be, in God's economy, removed as he will. But given the understandings and knowledge that we have today, and maybe not the supernatural overtaking of Bitcoin, Bitcoin should be immutable. It won't go away. And one of the best ways, and I think one of the best foundational ways to secure your logic in this idea is the internet. The internet was created by Tim Berners-Lee in 1996. And it was expanded out as a protocol. It's not software, it's a protocol. And this protocol cannot be deleted, it cannot be removed. And actually, every day, this internet protocol is expanding ad infinitum to every corner of the globe. So the internet can't be shut off unless we turn electricity off. Likewise, Bitcoin isn't software, it's a protocol, which means it cannot be turned off unless electricity gets turned off. So to me, in my logic, this makes a lot of sense. I should invest in the underpinnings of value, which is now what we have in Bitcoin. See, the internet gave us the opportunity to have decentralization of data, but now we have the opportunity to have immutable value that is truly owned by us. So let's talk about the second part. I wrote this slide, but you know what? I'll tell you, Mike Matthews, his voice rings in my head now. This guy is such a great speaker. And when I looked at this title, as I was going over this last night, I said, Bitcoin began data sovereignty, and Mike's voice was in my head, and I thought, maybe I should say, God started data sovereignty, and Bitcoin is just the praxis, or the practical application of this. But I think you understand my point. Bitcoin did begin the data sovereignty. And that is so powerful. We now have ownership of our own data. We now have ownership of our own communication and value. So let's unpack this briefly. What is data sovereignty? It's truly ownership over all of it. No one's controlling it but you. And so let's define Web3. It's not up here, but if you're taking notes, what is Web3? Web3 started with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is data sovereignty. What does this mean? This means that we have complete control. We have the ability to manage this. And what does Web3 look like from a practical standpoint? Let me tell you what the future looks like. Ownership over data. This means in the future, you should own your own Dropbox server. You should own your own data server. Ownership over communication. You should own your own email client. Why are you using Gmail? Why are you using Yahoo? They could rug pull you. They could take your email away. Web3 is a substantiation of this sovereignty. So in the future, one of the things that I'm hoping that amazing builders and operators will do will create very easy ways for us to say, you know what? I no longer want to have Dropbox own my data. I don't want to have Google own my data anymore. I want to own it. And so we as builders, we're the ones who need to build these UIs. We're the ones who need to build these applications so that we as free sovereign people can say, no longer is my data going to be owned by Google or Facebook or Dropbox. It's mine. I control it. Ownership over communication. I see a future where you will be able to install within one click your own email client. It's yours. No one can control it. No one can take it away. Are there one-click abilities to create your own email client? Not really. Not yet. And so we're looking forward to those days when great operators and entrepreneurs begin to build these types of solutions for us. And finally, ownership over our own value. Obviously, Web3 is all about the ability to own our own value, transfer it without intermediaries, and be able to say, this is from me to you to me, no one else needs to know about it. One of the conversations that I had with my colleague Jaime and my other colleague back there, Brandon, last night, was around the morality of Bitcoin. And I think this is a key idea to consider for just a second. Is Bitcoin moral? We would substantiate and agree that Bitcoin is moral. Actually, Bitcoin is probably the most ethical and moral money system that we have. Because you cannot lord over someone else's digital currency, but a bank can take your money from you. You can't use Bitcoin as a mechanism for, well, the mainstream media likes to say it's used for scams, it's used for these types of things, but in reality, Bitcoin, that's just a fraction of what Bitcoin truly is. Bitcoin is the most moral and ethical monetary system that this world has ever created. And it gives us the sovereignty and the opportunity to use it as we want. Third, Bitcoin is digitally native. This is something that's really important for us to grasp. Bitcoin didn't start again in a university. It didn't start in a workshop group. It didn't start in a hive mind. It started by the fringe, by small believers online. I think we have great examples of small believers coming together to create amazing things. And so because Bitcoin is digitally native, we have to address, we have to engage, and we have to communicate to people and connect with them online where they are. Number two, Bitcoin was spread via community. A huge part of what Bitcoin and Web3 is all about is about community. And what I've been loving about this particular conference is we have now a community here surrounded together by a cloud of witnesses for a common purpose for kingdom building. And so we, as a community, can band together and begin to expand our influence. Number three, Bitcoin does require a little bit of sophistication to leverage. And so one of the things that I'm looking forward to in the future is better UI, better UX, usability, better apps that can allow us to access the power of Bitcoin and digital currency in easier and more secure ways. Let's talk about venture capital. You know, again, I'm giving Mike a lot of credit here, but because he's ringing in my head, and the whole idea around we need to build and not wait for funding. Well, why don't we build and fund at the same time? This is the old world. I've been building startups since the early 2000s, 2 decades. And I'll tell you, taking money from other people has been great. It's been great. But the problem is, in many cases, taking money from people is just that. It's just money. There's no support behind it. I cannot tell you guys how many times I have built startups in which I have money, I've received money from a great investor or a capital allocator, and the problem is they've given me nothing else. No guidance, no wisdom, no here's how I can help, right? And what essentially the venture capital deployment model of the old world is, number one, they just cut a check and hope and pray it works out. I'm really tired of that model, really tired, not only as a capital allocator myself, but as an entrepreneur. Number two, you might not have known this, but you'll know this now. 90% of venture capital investment from the large firms goes into customer acquisition, CAC, or marketing and Google ads. And in so many cases, they are faking a manufacturing demand. And so there's a linear trajectory. There's a functional design that goes with that. The more money I pump into marketing, the more people I'll get in, and hopefully they'll be sticky. Why don't we put 90% of our investment to actually building and leverage 10% of it for marketing? What would that look like? Number three is kind of a meme. You might not be in the venture capital Twitter space or the VC Twitter space, but one of the memes in VC Twitter is, how can I be helpful? Is generally the venture capitalist question in their emails after you send them your monthly updates. They respond with, how can I be helpful? Why that's a meme is, in most cases, venture capitalists aren't helpful. They just want to sound like they're being helpful, but they're not operators. They're not entrepreneurs. They're capital allocators. And so for them, they don't have time in the trenches. They haven't experienced the build. And so for them, venture capital 1.0, it's really failed. Number four, venture capital 1.0, there's almost zero community around these capital allocators. They're lonely islands, hoping and praying that that check and that idea that they invested in, that operator that they invested in, is going to make them 100x return. That's their hope. But the problem is, they don't have any community of support to actually help grow that investment, help support that investment, beyond just the check. It's just I got about 10 minutes, let me email my investments. How can I be helpful? Knowing that in most cases, we're not gonna respond because they can't be helpful. And number five, not leveraging the changing world. Man, I'll tell you, so many of the amazing talks that I've heard over the last day and a half here is about us, the ecclesia, engaging in a changing world. That's why we're here. Web3 is here. It started with Bitcoin in 2009. And so the changing world, the digital world, is constantly morphing and transforming before our very eyes. I think we can come up with a plethora of examples in which the church is generally a lagging indicator of change, of cultural change, yeah? We tend to be, when I was in seminary, I remember my theology professor, Dr. Mapes, he said this, often seminary is often a cemetery for missionaries, right? And he also said, in most cases, the church becomes a cemetery because we become, naturally, more inward focused, focusing on the ecclesia inside the doors and their needs and their desires, and we tend to not expand or go out to the world and engage the world as much as we should. And so venture capital 1.0 has failed. And not only that, especially in the recent news, as you guys have seen with Sam Bankman-Fried and all of this malfeasance that's going on, there was a lot of that. And so it has to change. So let's skip venture capital 2.0 because I don't know what that actually looked like. So I'm moving to venture capital 3.0 to be aligned with Web3. Caught a little bit of a trick, but that's fine. We call it venture media. I wrote my third book, Gravity, How to Create Irresistible Brand, Unlimited Deal Flow, and Infinite Possibilities. You can get it for free right here. And if you're taking a picture, that's cool too. We'll take it, bro. So make sure that you take a picture of this, download my third book for free. It'll teach you as an individual or operator or entrepreneur how to grow your brand in a Web3 world so that you can have an irresistible brand, create gravitational force to yourself, create unlimited deal flow and infinite possibilities. It's free. I used to sell it, but now you can get it right there at bit.ly/venturebook. So make sure you pick that up. The three core facets of my thesis in this book is three things. And I wrote about this in 2019 before the lockdown. I had a vision for the future. The future is three things. The future is mobile. The future is video, and the future is remote. Well, in 2020, we found that to be an exact reality. The entire world had to go to video, they had to go mobile, and they had to go remote, didn't they? And so now, in this new changing world, where now all of our worldviews have been changed around interactivity, engagement, corporate experience, how do we build products now in dispersed communities, right? These are the three things that we as an ecclesia need to pick up. These are going to be the tools of Web3. The future is fully digital. Venture media was codified in 2019. Saddington first wrote about this initial thesis in venture media in 2019 on a blog post, and we've taken this fully on. I'm speaking about myself in the third person. That's me. I wrote about it. I don't know why I wrote Saddington. I just realized that. It's amazing. That's what my wife would say. Do you always talk to yourself in the third person? So I wrote about this thesis in 2019, and it ended up becoming true in 2020, 21, and 22. But here's the efficacy of this model. We've been running this model since 2015, but we didn't have great use cases that truly could take on everything within the model. But in just the last 4 years, we've done it. Our first startup with using venture media as a mechanism to grow that company, that product. In month 2, they were receiving $56,000 in monthly recurring revenue and grew a YouTube channel to 80,000 people, 80,000 subscribers in just 3 months. The second startup that we invested in, we were able to create 12,000 community members in 4 months with this startup. Which was really powerful is that community of 12,000, when we launched it, they sent in over 250 JIRA tickets to the company to say, here's how you can improve your product. Wouldn't it be amazing if you could launch a startup and within 60 days have 250 ways that you can improve what you're doing, and that feedback was free? I like that. And the best part, in just about 15 months, we helped this startup grow over 120,000 customers. Amazing, amazing. And only $1 million of seed capital. Our third startup is one that Jaime is currently engaged in. $52 million of venture investment went into this, and one of the biggest parts of that is that now this company is live streaming every day to thousands of people around the world, teaching them about Web3, Bitcoin mining, and investing. And so, could I say that the model works? I think we're daggone pretty close. So, let's talk about it. What is venture media? Venture media is an alternative investment model that combines 4 indomitable factors of value creation and profit generation that I have learned over the last 2 decades of building companies and taking on hundreds of millions of dollars in investment capital. The 4 facets of this is platform market fit, people market fit, technical engineering over financial engineering, and a global community. So we're going to unpack this for us a little bit here. So what is platform market fit? This is where you might want to take notes if you're an operator or you're an entrepreneur. This might be a little divisive, what I'm going to say, but this comes from my experience in the trenches building multiple startups and investing in many, many startups. We're invested currently in over 20 in our portfolio. One of the first filters, one of the first rubrics, and when we're talking with investors, or we're talking with operators rather, or entrepreneurs, is number 1, does the platform itself serve multiple product lines? I'm gonna draw a hard line in the sand, and it's based on my experience anecdotally alone. As an angel investor, before I went into enterprise venture capital really, as an angel investor, I invested in over 17 startups in early stage seed. Out of those 17 startups, 14 of them failed. I lost all of my money. But you know what? The 3 that succeeded were platforms, not single products. I am done with single products. If your product, if you are building a company and it only has one revenue stream, I'm not interested. We're in Web3 now. Your company should have multiple revenue streams. A core revenue stream, a side or alternative revenue stream, a social revenue stream, and a community revenue stream. These are all doable with today's technology and tools. And so when I'm sitting in the seat of an investor and I have a young blood pitching to me their idea, the first rubric I ask is, how many revenue streams does your product have? And if they say 1, I say, it's time to grow up. It's time to expand. There are many ways to monetize the world around us and not just your core product. Number 2, does the platform serve multiple user personas and communities? This is absolutely essential. Products span multiple communities, multiple boundaries, multiple jurisdictions, multiple worldviews. It can expand beyond all of that. And so we need to be able to tap into multiple communities who can become champions for our product. And so one of the questions I ask early stage operators is, how many communities are you tapped into? If they say, we don't have a Discord, or we don't have a Twitter, or we don't have a community that we're actively engaged in, then I say it's time to build one. How can we help you and provide you with a platform? We're going to talk about that. Number 3, does the platform have an obvious opportunity for market share from competitors? I spelled that wrong. Market share from competitors, right? Has the model been proven? This might sound counterintuitive as an investor. I think many starstruck investors will say, I want to look for the diamond in the rough. I want to find the 1000x idea. Brother, it don't exist. Trust me. I've been trying to build a 1000x idea for 20 years, guys. It doesn't exist. Now, some will become unicorns for sure. But in most cases, you're not reinventing the wheel. You're not reinventing anything, actually. Andreessen Horowitz would say that in today's startup world, there's only really 2 types of startups: repackaging and unbundling. Repackaging and unbundling. I don't think he's wrong. Most companies today are simply repackaging multiple ideas into a core product. A lot of ideas are taking multiple ideas and removing a couple, so it's even a more focused product. But these aren't new ideas. They're just permutations of an original idea. And so that's not to say that your idea isn't a great idea. Let's focus on where the models have already been proven. Number 4, does the platform support digital currencies, DeFi, or Web3? Period, full stop. If your product today does not support digital currencies, you are already behind the 8 ball. We are living in a world today where digital access to currencies only requires an internet connection and a cell phone. It's all that's really required. And so we need to be on the forefront of accessibility to digital currencies. Number 5, does this platform have an obvious opportunity for community growth, even if it's a niche? I love niches. And the reason is because these niches are where you find the true believers, the ones who will go to the conferences, the ones who will go out and communicate your message, your purpose to everyone else. Patricia, I was talking with you earlier today, and you are very similar in this regard, right? You have purpose. You found a person to support, right? And maybe I'm giving away the juju of what you do. But you're part of his community, right? Eric's community. Absolutely. You're one of the OGs. Girls, say less. I got you. I got you. And so, is there an opportunity to inject our product, our idea into community that could care about it, nurture it, baby it, and grow it for us? I like these ideas. The second part of venture media is person market fit. This is so substantial and so important. With my experience, 20 decades of building startups, I'll tell you, man, ideas are a dime a dozen. But great teams coming together, we have to look at what that rubric looks like. You might be a great communicator. You might be amazingly excellent at building code. You might be amazingly awesome at doing this one facet of business or ideating or vision casting. That's great. But are you the right person, the right personality, the right capabilities for now, in this time, in this product, in this market? Are you the right person? And you know, asking that first question is one of the hardest questions that operators who sit in front of me, they often don't have an answer for it. I ask them very simply, great idea, why you, why now? You should have that answer, right? I think Peter reminds us to have an answer. Is that right? So, are the founders, core operators, the right people and personality for this market? Do you, or do they, deeply know the market they serve? Do they have experience in this? Do they have trench experience? Have they been in the weeds? Have they gone through the suffering? Have they gone through the cycles? We give a lot of great airtime to the young entrepreneurs and operators who make amazing amounts of money at 19 years old. We love making those our champions, don't we? The problem is, statistically, the most successful operators are generally about 47 years old. Did you know that? Why? Because they've seen some stuff. They've been in the game. They now have 20, 25 years of experience in that industry. And you won't hear about them on the news. They're not making billions of dollars, but they're doing pretty well. Maybe a couple million here, a couple million there. They are successful. And these are the ones that I'd rather invest in. Notice, all of these investments are older than me. I have a better chance with older people investing because they have experience. Number two, what personas are successful in this market? Let's say you're building a startup for accounting. You probably don't need to be a jovial and over-communicative individual for that job, right? You might be the wrong personality for that market space. It's a pretty obvious metaphor there. But similarly, when it comes to the digital space, the Web3 space and Bitcoin and blockchain space that I'm in, ooh, it's a digitally native asset. It's a digitally native idea. Sorry, boomers. No, boomers can come along, but there are certain personalities that effectually work better in certain markets. And for us, we play where we know. For us, it's Web3 and Bitcoin. So we look for the right personalities in this market demographic. Number three, what specific mental models are necessary to be successful in this market with this person? Digital currencies requires a sophistication generally different from other financial tracks, other financial paths, right? If you come from private equity or you come from banking or mutual funds, digital currency requires a different vernacular, a different set of skills, a different, frankly speaking, a different worldview that is required. Number four, are they experts in social media? This is a gray area. When I say, are they experts in social media, what I really mean is, are they engaging the world around them? Are they engaging the world around them? Number five, do they create content? How many of you guys are building startups right now? How many of you guys are creating content for those startups? Okay, we gotta pump those numbers up. We've gotta pump those numbers up. How are you going to let the world know about your idea if you're not talking about it? Frankly, your idea is not that important. Your idea is not that important. And I say that, it sounds terse, but if you're not socializing, you ain't gonna get anybody else to do it. If you're not willing to go out there and say, this is my idea, I own it, you might think it sucks, but this is something I'm owning. This is something I'm building, and I'm taking pride in that, even if we fail. Here's a question for you guys. Do the people that you guys invest in create content? You know these three investments, these old guys? I got them to start learning to create content. Are you on live stream every day?
Yes, sir.
You got it, baby. 50 years old.
Yeah.
We're pushing the needle there. I'll take it. Number three, Technical engineering over financial engineering. Man, we have been in a world of financial engineering and really financial malfeasance, financial finaglery, financial messing. For us, we can make great money in Web3 with no financial finaglement, no messing around. Because in Web3 and digital currencies, everything can be code, and code is powerful. A couple things for us to think about if you're investing in this world of Web3 in the context of technical engineering. Number one, do they use Agile and Scrum frameworks? Ooh, what's that? Any of you guys ever heard of Agile and Scrum? A couple of you guys in the software world for sure. Agile and Scrum is frankly the best way to build software and products, period, full stop. What is it in a summary? Agile and Scrum is an iterative development framework that allows us to execute quickly, to get feedback quickly, answering the most important question in the world for software development, which is simply this: when do you want to know you're wrong? What's the answer? As soon as possible. So what Agile and Scrum does is it reveals that. It allows us to figure out quickly, I built this, I deployed it, it's wrong. Give me feedback. We need communities for that. Number two, value appreciation is a function of code. What does that mean? We can grow value in what we do, not by marketing, not by financial messing. We can actually grow value through code itself. I want to spend some time unpacking it, but Jason is telling me to hurry up. So we'll move on to the next one. Only data-driven feature decisions. One of the most famous systems thinkers out there is called Edwards Deming. I spent a lot of time going into systems thinking in university. And one of my favorite quotes from Edwards Deming is this. You guys might appreciate this. He said, "In God we trust, everyone else bring data." In God we trust, everyone else bring data. For me, that rung true. In God I trust, absolutely. Everybody else, you got to give me data. I'm not here to make emotional decisions. I'm here to make informed decisions based on data. And if you're creating content, you're engaging communities, you're building with Scrum, those three things I can measure. I can measure trajectory, I can measure profitability, and I can measure viability. Number four, do they have existing traction, or do they just need customers? When it comes to technical engineering, traction is a function of code. I'd like to unpack it, but he keeps going like this to me. So we can talk about it later. Number five, passive income generation and known MRR or ARR. This is a fancy way of saying we invest only in startups who are already monetizing their audience. If you're not monetizing your audience, you're a step behind the game. We can help you get there by giving you our global audience, but you have to have the discipline to keep doing it. Number four, when it comes to venture media, is a global community. There's three amazing visionaries up there. We have Steve Jobs, we have Walt Disney, and we have Stan Lee. One of the amazing things about Steve Jobs is he created fanatics around his products. And he created entire ecosystems for people to dive into those products, evangelize those products. Sometimes it hurts my heart when I see pictures and video of lines for Apple stores. Why are you guys waiting out in the blistering cold for this? Is it that bloody important? Of course it is, because he has created a global community of fanatics who will sell for him. I like that idea. Walt Disney, what did he create? He created a world, an ecosystem, a place outside of the world. One of the things that he talked about is, I want people, even adults, to come to a magical place where they could forget their current world and become joyful. He did that. He created a global community of believers who love Walt Disney and all of the things that he's built. Stan Lee, I'll quickly say, he created Stan Lee's bullpen. Stan Lee's bullpen was a room that had a floor-to-ceiling glass window, so anybody outside on the street could look in and see what they're drawing and see what they're talking about and be participatory in the next episode of X-Men or Wolverine. What he did is he engaged his community and have them be a part of the narrative. So, quickly, A global community, when it comes to venture media, can provide you with infinite deal flow. All 22 of our investments today at Stoss Fund are only in community members. If you aren't part of our community, I haven't built a relationship with you. If you're not part of our community for years, then guess what? I don't know you. I don't trust you. I don't understand your capabilities, your technical aptitudes. I don't understand your mental models, worldviews, or any of the aesthetics that matter from an investor standpoint. Jaime, my managing partner at our $50 million venture fund, he was a community member and started out as a subscriber on my YouTube channel in 2016. Now I hired him, and now we're making money together. Brandon Edwards, you were part of a Bitcoin pub forum back in 2017, I believe, is the first time I met you. We grew an amazing relationship, and I realized he was actually really, really good at certain facets of development and back-end technology, leverageable and useful. Now he's helping us make money in his startup. When you have a global community to pull from, you don't have to guess. You already know that they're there to win. Number two, immediately boost revenue, lower CAC, improve conversion. We've talked about that before. When you have a global community, you can immediately tell them, you built this, and they can come behind it and say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, let's go. I love that. Number three, feedback on product functions. I gave an example of our use case before. Obviously, the more that you are engaged in community, the more that they can give you feedback and tell you, this stinks, make this better. I don't like this. Tell me how I can get more of that. That type of feedback is crucial for finding product market fit. And number four, your best investments are hanging out in sub-niches within a larger marketplace communities. The niches are your fanatics. We need to find those individuals because they will help bring you and your ideas and your products to places that you can't be. So, the question for you guys, if you're an entrepreneur or operator, which communities can I plug my investments into? How can I get them engaged today? So, a quick application, because I like to give us a little bit to think about. If you are a project founder or an entrepreneur or operator, where do I begin? I'll tell you very simply, you must start with video. The world is moving to a video world. We have to engage them where they are. You might say, oh, I don't want to be on video. Okay, assume someone else is going to go on video and talk about your product for you. Not going to happen. You must go first. You must go first. Number two, content should be edutainment, not just educational, because that's boring. Entertainment's a waste, it's just consumption. Edutainment is entertaining while also giving and providing value to your customers, your clients, your users, or the market. And number three, if you're a project founder, get in community now. Frankly, if I was really going to leverage this community and this Christians in Web3 conference, I would make sure that all of us could band together to promote all of our startups together. How much powerful would that be? What if we created a Discord channel and had everyone from this conference in there, and anytime someone said, I'm building an idea, give me feedback, all of us said, no problem, baby, we got you. And within 2 days, 24 hours, 48 hours, now that individual from our community has massive amounts of feedback. Maybe a little candid, maybe a little hurtful, but it's okay. You'll get better. Number two, if you're a capital allocator like us, you're a venture capitalist, how do I get involved? It's a little bit switched. Start with community. Start with community. That's where you're going to find your best investments. I have two living examples of some of my best investments standing here today. I found them in my community. Number two, content should be less edutainment and more inspiration. We're here to be the megaphone as venture capitalists for our investments. I find it absolutely a disservice that a venture fund would invest in an operator and then tell nobody. Why? Why cut them a $250,000 check if you ain't gonna tell nobody? Let's be better. Let's be the megaphone. Let's inspire the world that we're trying to change things. We're trying to build things here that needs to come from capital allocators. And finally, video is the mechanism for this. Last but not least, this is important. There's two emails there, Brandon and Jaime. They are on our decentralized TV live stream. We live stream every day, which means all of you can come on our live stream. You have an idea? You have a product? Tell us about it. One of the things that I like to poke at with other venture funds, and I asked venture funds, hey, how large is your YouTube channel? Most venture funds look at me and say, I don't know your YouTube channel. And I say, well, we're at 340,000 now. So my venture fund has 340,000 subscribers. So that means every time I invest in anything, I can tell 340,000 people about it. Not bad. Sounds like manufacturing growth. Sounds like manufacturing feedback. Sounds like manufacturing the opportunity for success. Now, I don't believe in luck. I only believe in probabilities. And so our job as venture capital allocators is to increase the possibility that we'll succeed, God willing. So if you'd like to join our community, you can go to bit.ly/metacommunity. If you want to come on our live stream, email brandon@dctv.media or jaime@stas.fund. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Peter. We did start a little late, so you definitely want to take 1 to 2 questions. Please think of your question, raise your hand, but I do want to mention the first time, Peter, we got connected. Are you okay if I mention that?
That's fine.
I get on a Zoom call with Peter, and it's facing down on his desk, and it's a Glock 19?
Glock 19.
Glock 19.
I had the wrong camera on.
I'm like, whoa, what did I walk into here? And I'm like, I said, Peter, is that a Glock 19 or Glock 21? And you could tell I'm kind of a gun nut too. So we got into it, he pulls out an AK-47. I pull out my brother has a custom firearms business, and he had just gifted me a custom AR-15. We were just jamming out on this, the gun and building things.
I don't think we actually introduced each other. We were just like, let's go straight to guns.
Just jumped right in and we're like. But any questions? Let's definitely get to the questions here. And Jaden, any questions online? It's not every day that you get Peter Saddington here with the wealth of experience, expertise, and everything. Yes. Eli.
I had the opportunity to interview Eli yesterday up at a level 21, so I guess this is an opportunity to throw it back.
That's right. All right. Hey, so Peter, awesome. Quick question for you. So on that, as you're growing your YouTube channel, you're producing content, what are some of the tips for other creators like myself that have helped you create such a massive community?
Great.
Specifically for YouTube.
Specifically for YouTube, the short answer is 3 things. I give people ask this a lot. So number 1, just start. Number 1, just start. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is just start. But frankly, nothing gets started unless you start it, because ain't nobody gonna build your dream for you. Let me repeat that. Ain't nobody gonna build your dream for you. You have to go out into the gray. Part of that is putting yourself out there on video. It's all right. The government sees everything anyway. You're already on video, so don't worry about it. So number 1, just start. Number 2, where do I start? Let me give you your best tip. Document. Don't create. Creating is way too hard. It's too much brain power. It puts you in analysis paralysis. I got to create this amazing experience. No, you don't. Document what you're doing. Don't create. Document is easy. Start the camera. All right, guys, this is day 1. I'm really excited about my new idea. I have no idea how we're going to get there, but I want to tell you guys that day 1, we're going to be starting this YouTube, and the purpose of my startup is X, Y, and Z, ABC. I'd love for you guys to tweet about it or give me a comment. Booyah, you done, baby. That's day 1. That's day 1. We love to join other people on journeys, don't we? We love it, and especially if we're on the ground zero. We were there on day 1. We saw you stunk. You were terrible at YouTube. Great, but look at me now. These 2 examples here have walked with me for 7 years. My videos stunk 7 years ago, yeah? Yes, sir. They're kind of okay now, but it gets better. It gets better. So number 1, start. Number 2, document your world. Don't create anything, just document. And number 3, invite other people to collaborate. If you all you have to do is reach out to YouTubers that have 20, 30,000 subscribers, not in the hundreds because they have ego now, they're a big deal. Go to the smaller ones in your world. If you're in the digital Web3 world, find the small creators who have 5,000 subscribers. Collaborate with them. Say, hey, let's do a Zoom call and record it. Let's just talk about Web3. Give you an opportunity to talk about your idea a little bit, but the point is seat time. You introduced me as a race car driver. I'm racing this year. Really excited to finally get back in the seat. But we always talk about seat time, which is the more time in the seat, the better you get. Hope that helped. Yep, sir.
Hi, my name is Dominic. Thank you for everything you said. Very, very, very insightful. I'm going to use all of this.
Good, let's go. If your idea is good enough, you pitch to me.
So, tokenomics. What is your emphasis on that as far as your criteria to look as a good project? But I've seen a lot of venture capitalists, and especially my startup right now, they're just hacking away at tokenomics. How much effort should you put into that, and how much do you do as a VC to help startups?
Tokenomics is not a major part of our decision matrix. It's not at all. The tokenomics should first and foremost be three things. We actually went through this with legal. Tokenomics, we have to understand the tokenomics behind the coin. Is it a utility token, work token, security, or is it a store of value? So determining that determines use case. And determining that also determines SEC, CTFC, and FCC, considerations in selling securities. So the tokenomics has to be understood from you first and foremost as to what use case you're using. Are you building a store of value? Are you building a transactional token? Are you building a work token or utility token? Or fifth is a security. Depending on that, then we will consider where your product market fit lies and where your token in and of itself and its use case can be applied or leveraged or earned or grown or sold or socialized out to the world. So tokenomics is not something that we as venture capitalists care about. That's something for the operator to decide and come to us and tell us, does this use case make sense? Does that make sense? So look up tokenomics. You'll find that there are 5 types of tokens, right? There's coins, there's store values, there's transfer tokens, there's work tokens, utility tokens, also known as securities. So you need to figure those out because that's going to really constrain your ability to grow that particular project because CTFC, FCC, and SEC rules are going to constrain you depending on the type of token you make.
So thank you, Don. So we're going to bring it to a close here because we are maxed out on time. Please give a round of applause again for Peter Saddington. Please come up and ask a question. 2 pieces of information to mention real quick.